heard of a mountain that has stone stairways over 1,300 meters high? The Rajagala Archaeological Reserve in Ampara has one of those stairways and some engineering marvels, including a massive monastery that can house 500 monks built by King Lajjatissa in about 116 BC. And it has the only stupa in Sri Lanka with the relics of Arahat Mahinda, who brought Buddhism to Sri Lanka. With that little tidbit about Sri Lankan history, we welcome you to Kaleidoscope, where we are positive, daring, different. To our fantastic partners on the show, Srilanka Life, CDB, The Daily Morning and Made by Her, thank you for your super support. If you like Kaleidoscope, please like us, subscribe and follow us on YouTube, Facebook, Instagram and LinkedIn.
You can now start a CDB iDeposit digital fixed deposit and experience a range of special benefits from CDB.
Looking back at the week that was on CDB Snapshot, the IMF expects Sri Lanka's economy to shrink by 3% in 2023 and to grow by 1.5% in 2024. Worker remittances for April is at $454 million US, with the total from January to April being over $1,800 million US. The dengue mosquito is at it again. Since the beginning of this year, a total of 33,658 cases have been reported. The EU is to set a new target of getting 42.5% of its energy from renewable energy sources by 2030. A Sri Lankan shows the French how to make their baguettes. Darshan Selvaraja wins the Grand Prix for the best baguette in Paris, beating 175 contenders. Srilanka Life takes its free Vaidya Hamua health camps to the north and east and also presented 400,000 rupees worth of medicine to the Trincomalee General Hospital. For the first time in 50 years, that duck-billed cutie, the platypus, is reintroduced to Australia's oldest national park.
You focus on your goals. We will take care of the risks. Srilanka Life.
Welcome to Srilanka Life News Capsule. Sri Lanka is no longer in the global headlines, probably because there seems to be some return to normalcy. However, several decisive months later, are we on the right track, economy-wise, to rebuild our economy? What are the top priorities? Chair of Colombo-based policy research think tank Learn Asia, Professor Rohan Samarajiva popped into the studio to give me some answers. Rohan, good to have you on the show. Welcome. Always enjoyed chatting with you at the best of times. Is Sri Lanka getting back to normal, economy-wise?
Normalcy will take several years, but we are better than we were 1 year ago. Back to normal, I think in a real sense, is when we can open letters of credit and enter into long-term contracts for fuel. We can't do that yet. But what you mean by normal is you can get enough fuel for your car, we are normal.
So the country is concentrating on rebuilding the economy. Are we on the right track?
Concentration is off. That's the pity. I think you get guys like people like Nandalal Veerasinghe and Mr. Siriwardena who are indeed concentrating, and we should praise them for that. But the rest of us are not. We have lost our focus because life has sort of come back to normalcy, and we think we can live our normal lives. We should try to live our normal lives. That's part of getting the economy going. But we should also understand that we are in an unprecedented crisis and that it'll take some radical steps to get back to normal, really.
And these radical steps would be?
Paying more taxes, for one, which nobody wants to do. Accepting changes such as certain forms of privatization, restructuring, and so on. Seeing certain services just not be provided by the government any longer. We've been living beyond our means as a country We've been living beyond our means as a people.
What would be the top priority in rebuilding the economy?
More exports. Very simple. More exports. I think Nandalal Veerasinghe was absolutely correct when he said the only people who will not suffer in the short term will be those who are connected to the dollar economy or the export economy. So if you're in that economy, you will survive because that's where the action is going to be. So to the extent that everybody can get into that, not everyone can, but to the extent that you can, just take for example a young physician, if he can get into some form of telemedicine services, he will be better than just doing channeling. That's sort of the equation.
And we take a look at our markets this week. Interest rates persisting at around 20% have deterred investment in the Colombo Stock Exchange. The all share price index remained virtually unchanged, with the average daily turnover level hovering at a mere 600 million rupees. Good news for Sri Lanka, however, as oil prices are down again this week, close to one-year lows at $70.30 per barrel. In contrast, June last year saw prices soar to above $120 per barrel. After rising to one-year highs last week, gold finally slipped below $2,000 per ounce. For the first time ever, scientists have caught a star swallowing a planet whole, not in bites, not in nibbles, but in one big gulp. A gas giant star devoured a planet the size of Jupiter, which also showed what will happen to Earth when our sun becomes a gas giant. But that's 5 billion years away. A Peruvian zoo had the cutest idea to celebrate Mother's Day. It invited visitors to meet its youngest, most adorable residents, the kangaroo, the vicuna, water buffalo and deer babies with their mamas. Sustainable architecture is now a standard. Architectural Digest picked some cutting-edge designs for a greener world from Madrid to Norway to Botswana to Tamil Nadu. These innovative buildings embrace waste not, want not. Up next on S4IG Let's Talk is entrepreneur, investor and mentor Shehan Arulaya. It's been 14 years since the war ended in Sri Lanka, but has the North and East really seen any positivity after that? There are observations that Jaffna has been forgotten in the larger scheme of things, brain drain is rampant and that Jaffna has no energy. With me today is Shehan Arulaya. He left Sri Lanka when he was 2 but moved back 14 years ago to settle in Jaffna, a place he knew nothing about, and he made that his home. He has been in the ICT industry, is an entrepreneur and has been a mentor for young startups, and his focus is on economic development. Shehan, welcome to the program. You were 2 when you left Sri Lanka, and in that time you were in Colombo. Then in 2015, you moved back to Sri Lanka, but you decided to put down your roots in Jaffna. Why did you come back?
When I was 2, I was brought up in the UK, educated. I took a degree at Cambridge University and entered the IT industry. In 1993, I joined a company who was doing offshore development in Colombo. So I came to Colombo, spent 7 years there, where I married a girl. We had a son in 1996 and moved back to the UK in 2000. Unfortunately, she passed away in 2013. She had a chronic disease, pulmonary fibrosis. So when my son went to university in 2015, I reinvented myself and came back to Jaffna. When I say back, the reality is I'd never lived in Jaffna before, but I came to Jaffna.
So some people say the Jaffna and the North has a lack of dynamism, a lack of aspiration. What do you think?
So in any town, whether it's New York or Colombo or London, the dynamism and the aspiration comes from a small group of people who lead the larger group of people. Now in Jaffna, that group has left because of the war, because of lack of opportunity.
What is the spirit like?
Well, I think that the people are searching for opportunity. They want to progress, but I feel that it is somewhat subdued. It needs a spark. A spark has to come from somewhere.
Do you see young people as being the revival for Jaffna?
Young people are the future, but the problem is the present. And where the the impact for the present is not young people, but is experienced middle-aged people. And I've seen that from a number who've come back from the diaspora. I know from New York, from Toronto, from California. They're the ones who are setting up companies with experience and with worldwide networks. That's what we need.
So you mentioned the diaspora, very powerful from what we know. Do you think they are doing enough for the North and the East?
Clearly not. But we have to be realistic. One thing about Sri Lankans is they integrate extremely well into wherever they go, and effectively they become British or they become Americans, and quite frankly they lose interest in Sri Lanka. I know that because I'm from the diaspora and I know the people like that. So those people are not very keen on actually putting money where their mouth is and actually putting effort, including bringing themselves back to the North.
What are the key industries, do you think, that can be the key to uplifting the North?
Well, the North has a number of great assets. One is the coast, which means that we once had the second largest fisheries industry in Sri Lanka. We have a massive agricultural opportunity, but it must be value add. As Indrajit Kumarasamy pointed out in his recent speech, in Sri Lanka, something like 25% of people are in agriculture, but it only provides 6% of GDP. Tourism is another huge opportunity which is being ignored, and also ICT and BPO, back office processing. We have a small number of companies in there, but we need more.
What would you like Sri Lankan leaders to focus on when it comes to making the North and the East a priority in their development agendas?
Quite frankly, Sri Lankan leaders have performed extremely poorly, not only in the North. If you look anywhere outside the Western province, I myself have no expectations from Sri Lankan leadership.
What would you like Sri Lankans to know about the people of the North and East? What should we know and what should we do?
Okay, what I'd like Sri Lankans and tourists and the Sri Lankan diaspora to know is that the North is a normal place. It's a safe place. There are so many misapprehensions. People think it's dangerous. They think that the young people are going around drunk and drugged up. None of it's true. Come as tourists, spend some time here and experience for yourself and bear witness to the world that the North is a good, normal place ready to do business.
She began making soaps, liquid detergents and cleaning fluid to fuel her entrepreneurial spark. 7 years later, made by her partner M.I. Uma Maheswari, the founder of Uma Products, Mannar is a one-woman business machine handling manufacturing, marketing, distribution and sales. Trained by the Vidaha Resource Center and the IDB, here's the multi-award-winning Uma Maheswari on Made by Her Life in 60.
இந்த ட்ரெயினிங்கை வந்து இந்த டெக்னிக்கலாக நான் எங்கே கற்றுக்கிட்டேன்னு சொன்னால் இலங்கை கைத்தொழில் அபிவிருத்தி சபை அப்படின்னு சொல்கிற ஐடிபி அப்படின்னு மொரட்டுவையில் இருக்குது, அங்கே தான் நான் இதை கற்றுக்கிட்டேன். இதை எப்படி நான் சந்தைப்படுத்துகிறேன்னு சொன்னால் அரசாங்க திணைக்களத்த ஊடாக எங்கெங்கெல்லாம் சந்தை நடக்குதோ அங்கே கூடிய வாய்ப்புகளை ஏற்படுத்தி வவுனியா, திருகோணமலை, நார்த்தன் ப்ரொவின்ஸ் ஃபுல்லாகவுமே.
Uma Maheswari is a testament to the power of women's resilience and bravado. She's a multi-award winner, winning the award for Emerging Startup Entrepreneur from the Ministry of Women's Affairs, and has been felicitated at the 2023 Women's Day celebration by the State Ministry of Women and Child Development.
என்னோட தொழிற்சாலையில் பார்த்தீங்கன்னு சொன்னால் 5 பேர் வேலை செய்கிறோம். நாங்கள் ஒரு ஆணும் 4 பெண்கள் வேலை செய்கிறோம். இதில் பார்த்தீங்கன்னு சொன்னால் 2 பேர் வந்து பெண் தலைமைத்துவம் கொண்ட குடும்பங்கள், மிச்சம் இருக்கிற மீதி 2 பேர் வந்து கொஞ்சம் பொருளாதாரத்தால் கொஞ்சம் கஷ்டப்பட்டவங்க.
Her plans are to grow her business to have at least 50 women employed from female-led households and underprivileged families, and also a mentor for other women in business startups.
எந்த ஒரு பொருளுமே இல்லாமல், எந்த ஒரு மூலதனமுமே இல்லாமல் சிறிய லெவலில் ஆரம்பித்த தொழில் இந்த லெவலுக்கு வந்து நிற்கிதுன்னு சொன்னால், என்னோட எதிர்கால திட்டத்தில் நான் என்ன செய்யலான்னு பிளான் பண்ணியிருக்கேன்னா, ஒரு ஃபேக்ட்ரி அளவுக்கு இதை கொண்டு வந்து பெண் தலைமைத்துவம் கொண்ட குடும்பங்கள், பொருளாதாரத்தில் கஷ்டப்படுற குடும்பங்களில் இருக்கிற பெண்களை மட்டும் மையப்படுத்தி இந்த தொழிலை விருத்தி செய்யணும்னு.
It's almost the weekend. Put your feet up, take a breath and relax. We'll be back next week.